Okay, if I could get council to come back to the dais, we'll reconvene the meeting and move on with item 12.1. Okay, the Vice Mayor will be joining us shortly. He's coming out now. 12.1 is matters relating to street sweeping services. Mr. Matheson?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we are here to present an item regarding street sweeping services and, more importantly, how those services are funded. We have two items for you this evening. The first is a policy discussion regarding the level of service and funding, and the second is potential action to adopt a resolution amending the solid waste franchise agreement with Dixon Sanitary Service. I wanted to show this slide here just to give you a little bit of an idea of the volume and importance of the street sweeping service. This currently on average, the street sweeping service takes away 200 tons of debris every year. So why do we do street sweeping, besides the obvious 200 tons of debris? The city is required to maintain and prevent runoff of debris into the stormwater drainage system. The city has an NPDES report which identifies specifically street sweeping as a best management practice in order to prevent pollutants and silt from entering the drainage system. Currently, our level of service is bi-weekly for residential neighborhoods and weekly for commercial, with additional service during the fall during leaf season. The impact of street sweeping. It impacts, obviously, the appearance of the city. It has a great impact. It prevents the buildup of pollutants such as sediments and trash and other debris from entering our storm drain system. It has an impact on safety of our streets by keeping them clean, safe from tripping hazards. It has an impact by preventing flooding from blocking up storm drain inlets. And it also has an impact on reducing the number of staffing hours that are required to go out and maintain these streets as well as the storm drain lines and our drainage ponds. The City Council can establish the level of service desired for street sweeping. Options include maintain the current level of service with bi-weekly residential and weekly commercial, reduce the level of service with monthly residential and bi-monthly commercial, or even eliminate street sweeping altogether. Now, obviously, there is a cost savings with cutting the service in half or eliminating the service on paper, and that is a savings to the general fund. You'll see on the top, if we maintain our current contract service, it's $125,332. A reduced level of service would be $75,269. That is a direct savings to the general fund. Or under scenario 2, where it's transferred to Dixon Sanitary Service, the current level of service would be $160,000, with ratepayers paying an extra $1.13 per month, or reduced level of service, $139,000, with ratepayers paying 98 cents per month. What this doesn't show is the additional cost of staffing hours required to go out and maintain the streets, to clear storm drain lines, to maintain the ponds, remove sediment buildup, respond to flooding, safety hazards, etc. So although you may see a savings here, there is an additional cost by reducing the level of service. Real important to keep in mind. There are options then for the council to consider. Option 1 is renew the current contract. The current contract has a 1-year renewal option at the city's request. The cost would be $125,332 for the current level of service, and this fee would be paid from the general fund, as is the current practice. However, during the budget workshop held January 20th, we had a line item that showed a savings of $125,332 if street sweeping was eliminated from the general fund and moved back to Dixon Sanitary Service, thus why we're here tonight. I should also add that if that option 1 was continued, we would have to come back to you to identify other areas of budget savings to make up that shortfall that we have identified in the budget. Option 2, add to the solid waste franchise agreement. Adding the service to the solid waste franchise agreement transfers the cost from the city general fund to the rate-paying customers, both residential and commercial. Rates for residential would go up $1.13 per month, and commercial rates will go up the equivalent 4.9%. The $1.13 is equal to a 4.9% increase for residential. The general fund would realize a savings of $125,332, plus the city would receive additional revenue in the amount of $16,577 from the franchise fee. The city has an agreement that we receive a 10% franchise fee from Dixon Sanitary. To review a little history, some past practices, this is not new for Dixon Sanitary Service. From 1996 through 2006, street sweeping was performed by Dixon Sanitary Service and paid for by the ratepayers. In 2006, the service was removed from the franchise agreement in lieu of a 7.3% rate increase that was requested by Dixon San. Instead, the city bid the service and currently pays for street sweeping from the general fund, with the current contract expiring June 29th of 2009. So the 7.3% increase that was requested, the rate only went up 8 cents instead, and street sweeping was eliminated and paid for by the general fund. About a $1.24 cost difference. Some options for you this evening. One, you can renew the existing contract at a cost of $125,000 for the same level of service from the general fund. 2, you can amend the solid waste franchise agreement with Dixon San at a rate of $1.13 per month for residential and 4.9% increase on commercial, depending on the service. Or finally, you could direct us to perform street sweeping in-house and an annual estimated cost of $125,000 to the general fund. Now that number would involve the purchase of equipment or the lease of equipment, additional staffing, so a lot more expenses ongoing with that option. Just to give you a little comparison of what our neighbors are doing, you'll see our current practice at the top there is we have a contractor with our garbage rate fees at $22.92. Most cities right now included in the franchise agreement. On the bottom, highlighted there, is the proposed franchise agreement, which would increase the rates to $1.13 or by $1.13, bringing the garbage fees to $24.05 for residential, still well within the bounds of what our neighboring cities are charging. So the recommendation for you this evening is to maintain the current level of service of biweekly residential and weekly commercial and amend the solid waste agreement with Dixon Sanitary Service to include street sweeping. The service would begin July of 2009. With me this evening is representatives from Dixon Sanitary Service, Mr. Farewell, who can answer any questions you might have on the proposal that is also included in your staff report. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.